Hi everyone, welcome to the second webinar of a series of webinars conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming operational case study examinations happening in February 2023. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for OCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes for tonight. I will be looking at four main areas or fulfilling four main tasks rather. So first things first, I'm going to highlight what you need to do when it comes to providing answers at your exam, because most students are clueless about, since this might be your first CIMA case study, or this might be the first attempt when it comes to a CIMA case study. So in such a context, most students are clueless about how to provide answers, and on top of that, the same set of students are clueless about how to manage their time appropriately. So all these things will be covered in tonight's session. I'll be taking you through answering technique as well as time management technique. Then on top of that, I'll be taking you through the second part of the mini mock, which we have uploaded onto our website. So I'll be taking you through the question as well as the answer. And based on this, I'll highlight what you need to do when it comes to developing answer plans. And on top of that, based on the same mock, I'll highlight time management as well, or what you need to do when utilizing your time appropriately. And at the very end of tonight's session, I'll be talking about what you need to do to bounce back from failure. There could be students who could not clear the examination last November. And if that is the case, you need to really figure out what your problems were and find solutions to each and every problem faced by you. So I will be highlighting different types of issues faced by students who finally end up failing the examination. And on top of that, for each issue, I'll be providing a solution as well. So those are the session outcomes. And before we proceed, let me remind you about the webinars. So we had our first webinar last Friday. Well, in that webinar, I provided an overview into the OCS exam. And on top of that, I provided a 6-week study plan. We have already shared the study plan via email. And I cannot remember whether our admin staff had shared the study plan via the WhatsApp chat group. If that is not the case, I will be sharing it after tonight's session. So I've provided a 6-week study plan, and if you stick to this study plan, then your life becomes easier. And if you missed out on this webinar, there's absolutely nothing to worry. The recorded version of the webinar can be found on our website under the free content tab. And in today's webinar, I'll be taking you through answering technique. And in the final and the third webinar, this is happening on the 21st of Saturday. I'll be talking about exam preparation, or what you need to do to develop confidence before the exam. And on top of that, what you need to do to maintain the same level of confidence at your real exam, because as per the CIMA examiner, confident students end up passing the exam comfortably. So all these things are covered in the third webinar. All right, so this is the 6-week study plan, which I've already provided. So we are in the second week, or we are approaching. We are still in the first week. I hope you would have already gone through all this material which we have provided. And in the upcoming week, you are supposed to go through the theory recap slides pertaining to E1, F1, and P1, so that you can polish up your knowledge in these areas. And the upcoming week is going to be a bit hectic, because you are supposed to attempt 2 mocks, mock number 1 and mock number 2. And on top of that, not just attempt the 2 mocks, you are supposed to develop answer plans based on the suggested answers of mocks 1 and 2 as well. And I will be talking about what answer planning is in tonight's session. And after going through, or after watching the content, or after listening to what I say in tonight's session, you would be able to understand how to develop answer plans. Okay, so that's what you are supposed to do in the upcoming week. Things are a bit hectic, but the most hectic week is going to be the second week, but later on, from week number 3 up until week number 6, it's just a matter of attempting one mock exam per week, because everything else have been developed and uploaded to the website. So you just need to simply watch some videos and go through study material. Okay, so that's that. Uh, yeah, Manish, I'll get back to your concern. Right. Then answering techniques, looking at what you need to do when it comes to developing answers at your exam. You are supposed to use appropriate headings and subheadings whenever you are developing your answers. So why are we suggesting this? Because the CIMA examiner wants you to do it. Okay. Now, when you use headings and subheadings appropriately, then it's easier for the marker to figure out the structure of your answer. Okay, so after reading the question, your first step should be with regards to coming up with headings and subheadings. And if you are coming up with a heading, it needs to be in bold and underlined format. And if you're coming up with a subheading, it needs to be in bold format. So stick to the formatting requirements stipulated by the CIMA examiner. And on top of that, when developing your or when providing your answers, you need to provide answers in paragraph format. You are not supposed to utilize bullet points. You are not supposed to provide answers in single lined sentences. Instead, you are supposed to develop answers in paragraphs, and a typical paragraph should consist of 2 to 4 lined sentences. And when you look at the word count per task, per 45-minute task, it should be ideally between 650 to 700 words. This is not a hard and fast rule. Although I'm suggesting this, the examiner is actually not going to count your words and provide marks. Instead, the examiner is going to look at the quality of your answer. He or she, the examiner, is not concerned about the length of your answer, but I'm providing this best practice so that when you are practicing your mock exams, for each task, if you come up with an answer which is around 650 to 700 words, then that can be considered as an answer which covers all the requirements highlighted in the question. So I've seen a lot of students coming up with answers where the word count is somewhere around 300 to 450. By looking at the word count itself, we can see or we can stipulate that it is not enough. So if you are supposed to provide a fully fledged answer for a 45-minute task, of a 45-minute task, then your word limit needs to be 600 within 650 to 700 words. And when it comes to utilizing your time, so I told you per task you are allocated 45 minutes. And how are you supposed to utilize these 45 minutes? 1/3 of the time should be allocated towards reading and developing an answer plan, and 2/3 of the time should be allocated towards typing. So out of 45 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes should be allocated towards reading the question and developing an answer plan. So you can allocate 5 minutes to read the question, read and understand the exact requirement, and the remaining 15 minutes can be utilized or should be utilized to develop something called an answer plan for the entire task. So why am I suggesting that you should develop an answer plan? Because without an answer plan, if you start typing your answer straight away, halfway through, you'd realize that you are headed in the wrong direction. And if that is the case, you'd have to delete the answer. Then you'd have to start typing once more from scratch. And when that happens at the back of your mind, you know for a fact that you have wasted a lot of time. So it creates a certain level of stress, and the stress is carried forward when attempting the other tasks as well. So in such a context, you run out of time, you won't manage your time appropriately. So when you don't manage your time, you'd come up with half-hearted answers or incomplete answers. And on top of that, you'd be stressed. And because of this stress, you'd experience something like brain freeze. You won't have the ability to think straight. So in such a context, ultimately, you end up failing the examination. So in order to avoid such a situation, what I'm suggesting is read the question, take 5 minutes to read the question and understand the exact requirement. And take 15 minutes to develop something called an answer plan or an answer structure. In today's session, I'll be taking you through an answer plan or an answer structure, then you'd understand what I'm talking about. So once you have developed an answer plan, once you know what you're supposed to type, then you can utilize the remaining time and type the entire answer or expand the answer plan which we have stipulated. Okay. And having said that, you need to be concerned about the typing speed as well. So the typing speed should be a minimum of 20 words per minute. Okay, if your typing speed is not up to standard, then there are so many platforms out there where you can Google, and there are games and whatnot. So utilize these platforms to improve your typing speed if it's not up to standard. And always remember that the mark allocation for each subtask is provided as a weightage at the end of each and every question. So based on this weightage, you can determine how many marks are allocated. So based on the mark allocation, then you can stipulate how many points you need to highlight in your answer. So always make sure that you understand the weightage provided. Based on the weightage, you can simply understand how many marks are allocated. Based on the mark allocation, you need to determine how many points you need to highlight in your answer. And once you know it, you can come up with an answer plan. And based on the answer plan, you can type the fully fledged answer. And do not spend time on formatting, such as paragraph alignment. The only type of formatting which you need to be concerned about is with regards to headings and subheadings. Other than that, don't be concerned about formatting. And remember, it's always about the quality of the points which you highlight in the answer. That's exactly why I said that you need to, rather than typing the answer straight away, you need to develop an answer plan. And after developing the answer plan, you can go back to the requirement and see whether you have addressed all the concerns highlighted in the requirement. You can easily see it. Then once you are satisfied with your answer plan, and if something needs to be edited, then you can simply edit your answer plan. And once you're satisfied with your answer plan, then it's a matter of typing the answer. So you would get marks for the quality of the points, not for the length of your answer. That's what you need to remember. Okay, and when it comes to developing the answers, as I told you earlier, you are supposed to read the scenario first. I asked you to spend something like 5 minutes to do it. And then after reading the scenario, then you are supposed to plot the requirements into headings and subheadings. So for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading. Okay, so if there are 3 subtasks in your exam question, or within a certain task, if there are 3 subtasks, then in your answer you need to have 3 main headings. And if you feel that your answer need to be further subdivided or fractioned out, then you can come up with subheadings. And once you have your headings and subheadings, then you have to come up with the answer plan. And as I highlighted earlier, maximum of 1/3 of the time can be taken in this area. So something like 15 minutes can be taken. And when developing the answer plan, plan it on the answer screen itself. Do not use the scratch pad, because if you use the scratch pad, you would have to shift between the scratch pad and your answering screen. And when you do it, you might miss out certain points which you have highlighted on the scratch pad. So there could be a scenario where on the scratch pad, you have highlighted 5 main points, but when it comes to typing your answer, you miss out one of the points mentioned in the answer plan. And rather than coming up with 5 paragraphs, you would come up with just 4 paragraphs. So per answer point, you need to come up with a paragraph. So if you have 5 answer points, you need to have 5 paragraphs in your fully fledged answer. But when you're shifting between screens, you might miss out on a certain point. So in order to avoid such a situation, in order to avoid unnecessary time wastage, what we're supposed to do is, when developing the answer plan, do it on the answer screen itself. And once you have the answer plan, then it's a matter of expanding the points which you have stipulated as part of the answer plan. That's where you come up with your paragraphs or fully fledged answers. So by doing this, you are planning your answer properly. You are checking your answer with the requirement to see whether you are headed in the correct direction. And on top of that, you are managing your time appropriately as well. Okay, so that's what you need to do when it comes to developing answers. And on top of that, when providing answers, you need to think about bringing in information from the precin as well. You won't get too much of marks at this level for precin application, because at the OCS level, you are playing the role of a finance officer. So as a finance officer, you are assisting decision makers instead of being involved with decision making directly. So in such a context, you need not really know about what happens within the industry, or you need not really bring in information from the precin. However, it's better to understand the most important points which are highlighted in the precin. So for instance, you should know the type of budgetary system utilized within FireWorks, or the company which is considered for this time's case study. So once you know this information, you can mention it in your answer to add a certain type of value to your answer. Okay, so in order to do these things, you need to know your key information. For example, FireWorks sells 6 different outdoor grills. So you need to know your key information, and you need to remember the key ratios, not all ratios, again, because you are playing the role of a finance officer. At the OCS level, you are not supposed to be really conversant with ratios or really remember ratios, but just remember the key ratios. Okay, and how can you fulfill these 2 requirements? How can you know your key information as well as remember the key ratios? By you can simply achieve this by referring to the material which we have provided. So when it comes to knowing your key information, you can simply refer to the precin, the annotated precin which we have provided. I myself prepared this. So when preparing this annotated precin, what I've done is I've summarized all the information in a precise manner, so that you can, rather than going through all this information and trying to study everything, you can simply go through these bullet points and figure out the most important points highlighted within the precin. And on top of that, as part of these annotations, I've also included the syllabus areas which are tested. So when brushing up your knowledge with regards to the syllabus content, you can go through these things. So that's exactly what you can see throughout the annotated precin. So rather than going through pages and pages of information, you are simply supposed to go through these bullet points. Then it makes your life easier. And on top of that, we have developed 3 TikTok videos, which summarizes the entire precin within 9 minutes. So if on a daily basis, if you go through these TikTok videos, then you'd keep reminding yourself about the most important points. Then it makes it easier for you to bring in information or apply precin information in your answer, thereby adding value to your answer. And the same should be the same could be said about the financial statements. I said that you need to remember the key ratios. So we've made your life easier, because all the ratios have been provided in here in numerics, as well as I've evaluated the financial performance based on each and every ratio. I've kept it simple so that you can easily understand where the company stands at the moment. And if you feel that actually the industry analysis is not too relevant to OCS, but I've done an industry analysis based on real life industry dynamics so that you can better understand what your company is up to, or what similar real life companies are up to. So that's exactly what you can see here, and real world examples are provided based on two real life companies as well, so that you are in a position to better understand what happens within the company. So that's what you need to do. Just go through our material which we have provided. Then you'd know your key information, as well as you'd remember the key ratios, and prepare for possible scenarios. But you need to be open-minded, because the CIMA examiner is trying to replicate a real-life corporate environment. So you can't predict what happens within a real-life corporate environment. It's as if you are walking into office and opening up your email and providing answers to your superiors. So in such a context, you need to be always open-minded. And remember that the scenario presented in the exam carries the latest information. So via the precin document, information about the company as well as the industry is provided, and all this information tells us about what has happened in the past within the organization as well as within the industry. However, at your exam, you would get the latest information. Your questions would carry the latest information, and based on this information, you are supposed to provide your answers. So that's what you need to do when it comes to application of precin information. And when you are referring precin information in your answers, you are supposed to refer or cite in such a way that it adds value to the point which you are presenting in your answer. So just because you are supposed to bring in information from the precin, don't bring in irrelevant or general information. If the question is something to do with budgeting, do not talk about the type of outdoor grills the company is manufacturing, because that is irrelevant. Okay, don't talk about the type of leadership within the organization. That's irrelevant to the question. So if you're bringing in information from the precin, it needs to be connected to the requirement, or it needs to add value to your answer. So do not force it in to show the marker that you have studied the precin, because you don't get marks just because you bring in general information or irrelevant information from the precin. So in order to understand how to do this appropriately, in order to understand what type of information needs to be brought into your answers, you are supposed to refer to suggested answers of mock exams. And on top of that, we have developed 12 videos in which we are discussing the answers of mocks 3, 4, and 5. And when discussing these answers, theory is covered, theoretical content is covered. I'm teaching theory, and on top of that, I'm teaching the logic behind the answers provided based on answer plans developed for mocks 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so if you go through all this content, then you would know what and how the precin information can be brought into your answer, so that you end up increasing or improving the value of your answer. Right. So having said that, now we are moving on to the third part of tonight's session, where I said I'm gonna take you through a mini mock, and based on this mini mock, all this time I was talking about answer planning technique, answer and how to refer to precin information, as well as time management technique. All this will be covered when I'm discussing the mini mock. So before we move forward, any questions, guys? Any concerns? Any doubts? All right, seems like there aren't any questions. So I'm going to move into the third part, which is the discussion of the mini mock. So section number 2. So we have uploaded this mini mock. You can find this under the free content. So I took you through section number 1, or the answer, the question and the answer for section number 1 in the previous session in November. So the discussion is already on the website. So I'm not going to take you through it once more. Instead, I'm going to focus your attention towards section number 2. Okay, so section number 1's answer plan is already there on the website. So is section number 2's answer plan. So the answer plan is already there. Section number 1's answer discussion video is already there on the website. I'm going to take you through the second part of the OCS mini mock, which we have uploaded onto our website. So section number 2, a 45-minute question. At present, we are in the process of purchasing robotic cleansing machines. Ben Bruce, who is our finance director, has recommended that we go ahead with a lease agreement when funding this capital investment. So we are going to purchase robotic cleansing machines, and our finance director says that when purchasing these machines, we should pursue a lease agreement, and you are supposed to refer to reference material 2 to figure out the information about this lease agreement. So what is the requirement? You are supposed to describe how we can record the lease in our accounting records and how it is treated in our financial statements ended 30th June 2023. Okay, and I highlighted about the weightage which is provided at the end of each and every subtask. That's exactly what you can see here. So for this subtask, the weightage provided is 50%. So based on this weightage, you can easily stipulate or understand how many marks are allocated, and based on the mark allocation, you are supposed to come up with points or answer points when developing your answer plan. So the question is, it's better to reiterate the question in a concise yet an understandable manner, which makes your life easier. So I've simplified the question and stipulated that we should record the question requires us to record us to understand how to record the lease as of 30th June 2023. So how to record the lease within our financial statements as of 30th June 2023. That's the first question. And based on that, I've developed the answer plan. And as you can see, whenever an F1 related area comes into the picture, then you need to stipulate the IAS or the IFRS number as well as its name. IFRS 16 lease liability. So that's my main heading, which is in bold and underlined format. And I said, based on the weightage provided, you can stipulate how many marks are allocated. So 150 marks are allocated for your entire paper. And your paper consists of 4 main tasks. So the mark allocation for each task is 37.5 marks. So 50% of 37.5 marks can be rounded off to 19 marks. So for the first question, you would be allocated 19 marks. Okay. So before we go through the answer plan, let's try to figure out what appears on the reference material. So the annual lease payment paid in advance is $47,000. So we had paid a lease payment in advance, which amounts to $47,000. And the present value of lease payments as at 1st December 2022 is 129,000. So that's the present value of the lease payment. Lease arrangement fee is $10,000, and the lease commences from the 1st of February 2023, and the first lease payment is made on the same date as well. And the lease period goes on for 5 years, and the asset which we are going to purchase, the robotic cleansing machine, the useful life of this asset is 7 years, and the owner at the end of the lease period is the lessor. And the present value excludes the lease payment made in advance on the 1st of December 2022. So the present value which is provided, 129,000, excludes the lease payment paid in advance, which comes up to $47,000. So these are the requirements. So these are the information provided about the lease. So based on that, you are supposed to develop your answer. Okay. So when you are developing an answer for an F1 related area, you have to, as I told you earlier, you have to mention the IAS or the IFRS number as well as the name. And on top of that, you are supposed to start with defining what this IAS or the IFR is about, and talk about initial measurement first. Okay, so lease liability, when it comes to the lease liability, you have to talk about the initial measurement. So when we are stipulating the lease liability, the initial measurement is based on the present value of lease payments to be paid. And when considering this present value of the lease payment, it should include fixed payments over the lease term, amounts payable under residual value guarantees, cost of options to purchase, and termination penalties. So these points are mentioned under IFRS 16. So you are supposed to simply reiterate what you have learned under F1 based on your knowledge on IFRS 16. So talk about initial measurement. Initial measurement when it comes to a lease liability is the present value of lease payments to be paid, and it should include further costs, and that's exactly what I've highlighted here. And then when talking about the lease liability, after talking about the lease liability, you need to stipulate the discount rate used for the present value calculation. So as per IFRS 16, when talking about initial measurement, we have to consider the present value of lease payment, and when considering the present value of the lease payment, we have to think about a discount rate for the PV calculation. So the discount rate is either the lease interest rate or the incremental borrowing rate. So the lease interest or the incremental borrowing rate is not provided in the question. So I have not stipulated about it. Instead, I've stipulated the theoretical element pertaining to the discount rate. So when stipulating the discount rate, you need to either take the lease interest rate or the incremental borrowing rate. However, and information is not provided in the question, so I've not stipulated anything. However, I've highlighted about the present value of lease liability, which comes up to $129,000. That's exactly what you can see here, $129,000. Then you have to talk about how it's going to affect our financial statements. So a lease, whenever we are going for a lease agreement, it affects our SOFP, statement of financial position, as well as the SOPL, statement of profit and loss. So first things first, I'm going to talk about the SOFP as at 30th June 2023. Why? Because as per the question, you are supposed to mention how this lease is going to affect our financial statements ended 30th June 2023. That's exactly what you can see here. Okay, 30th June 2023. Value of the liability. First things first, we need to stipulate the value of the liability. So the initial amount is in dollars 129,000 and 5 months interest. Why are we talking about 5 months interest? Because the lease payment is going to be made, or the lease is supposed to commence on the 1st of February. However, our financial year end is the 30th of June. So from 1st of February up until the 30th of June, we have 5 months: February, March, April, May, and June. So we have 5 months. So when looking at the value of the liability, or when stipulating the value of the liability, we have to consider the initial amount and 5 months interest, not 12 months interest, because from February up until June, we don't have 12 months. Instead, we only have 5 months. So from February 23rd, 2023 to June 2023, split into current liability, which is 12 months liability, and non-current liability, or any type of liability which goes beyond 12 months falls under non-current liability. And what are you supposed to do? That's everything about the initial amount. And what are you supposed to do in the subsequent years? In the subsequent years, the carrying value increases by the interest charge. Okay. And when it comes to the lease interest, that goes into our SOPL, because that's a cost for the business. So any type of expense goes to the statement of profit and loss. And the carrying value is reduced by the annual cash repayments of in dollars 47,000, because the annual cash repayment is 47,000. So based on that, the carrying value keeps on reducing whenever we make this payment. So that is how this lease is going to affect our SOFP as well as the SOPL. So as you can see, I started the answer by mentioning the relevant accounting standard, the number as well as the name. Then I spoke about the initial measurement. This is highly theoretical. Okay. And I spoke about the discount rate because we have to consider the present values. When doing that, we have to think about the discount rates. And I've stipulated what IFRS 16 stipulates. And at the very end, I've spoken about how this lease is going to affect our SOFP as well as the SOPL. And you have to talk about the right of use asset as well. Again, the answer starts with the initial measurement. The initial measurement of a right of use asset is at cost, and it includes lease payments made at commencement date, any indirect costs, estimated removing or dismantling costs. All these three things are considered as part of initial measurement when you consider a right of use asset. Okay, so all these things are again theory being brought forward from your knowledge pertaining to IFRS 16. But just because you write theory, you won't get full marks. You need to apply to the requirement. You have to utilize the information provided in your question. So that's where the application scenario comes in. So when you look at the application, we have to consider the present value of $129,000 plus the advance lease payment of $47,000 and the lease arrangement fee of $10,000. So when considering the initial measurement of the right of use asset, all these three elements needs to be considered. And the value on the financial statements as at 30th June 2023 should be measured at cost minus depreciation minus impairment losses. So from where am I getting all this information? From the knowledge pertaining to IFRS 16 leases. Okay, so that's all about the right of use asset. Then you need to talk about subsequent measurement as well. That's why I've stipulated about depreciation. Depreciation is charged to the statement of profit and loss. And when considering the depreciation period, we should consider the short of useful life and lease term. So what is the useful life? 7 years, and the lease period is 5 years. We have to look at the short of those two. So the short of those two are the lease term is the lease term of 5 years. And once we know the lease term, how you are supposed to think about the life of this lease, the lifetime of this lease, then you know how to depreciate it. So the depreciation for year one from February 2023 to June 2023, which is the financial year end, I've stipulated how to calculate depreciation. So that's the 129,000, the value of this asset, plus 47,000 plus 10,000 divided by 5 into 5 months depreciation from February to June 2023. And in the subsequent years, it's the value should be stipulated as 129,000 plus 47,000 plus 10,000 divided by the lease term of 5 years. And this is deducted from the carrying value of the right of use asset on an annual basis. All right, so that's the answer for the first requirement. I hope you guys understood what I highlighted. Any questions? Any questions, guys? All right, seems like there aren't any questions. So I'm gonna move forward. I'm gonna move into the second subtask or subtask B. So Ben Bruce, our finance director, is saying that the company should move to a digital costing system that would augment the current costing system. So the current costing system is a standard absorption costing system as per the information provided in the precin. And Ben Bruce is saying that we should move forward and move towards a digital costing system. So you are supposed to draft a paper outlining the benefits of adopting a digital costing system. So it's a simple requirement. You are supposed to highlight the benefits of adopting a digital costing system, and based on the weightage, you can stipulate how many marks are allocated. So benefits of adopting digital costing, that's my main heading. So because of that, it's in bold and underlined format. And based on the weightage provided, out of 37.5 marks, 20% is 7.5 marks. So benefits are, if you adopt digital costing, you are in a position to identify the best prices and lead times offered by the suppliers. How can you achieve it? By integrating with supply systems. So I've kept it simple. You can mention these 2 points in 2 paragraphs or within a single paragraph itself. But when developing the answer plan, keep it simple, because it's for your own planning requirements. You are not supposed to, when developing answer plans, don't type paragraphs of answers or sentences and sentences of answers. Instead, keep it simple so that you can easily come up with the structure in a short period of time. And you can easily, since when you keep it simple, you can easily understand what is highlighted, and based on that, it's a matter of just typing the fully fledged answer. So you can identify the best prices and lead times offered by the suppliers by integrating with supply systems. That's a benefit of digital costing. And digital costing can be implemented across our sales channels, both online and retail. So this is where application comes in. So if you know the information provided in the precin, then you would know we are into retail sales as well as online sales. So you can bring it in so that it adds value to the answer. So can be implemented across the sales channels. We can easily trace changes in raw material prices, as well as we can adopt intelligent suggestions of suppliers using artificial intelligence. Then standards can be updated regularly, which leads to better decision making. And when standards are updated regularly, there won't be any planning variances. So at the moment, so I'm talking about something which is not mentioned in the answer plan. I've missed out on it, but I suddenly remembered. So at the moment, we are using standard absorption costing, and our standards are updated once a year. Okay. However, if we go for digital costing, our standards, rather than relying on standards which are updated just once a year, our standards will be updated regularly. So there won't be any planning variances. That's another benefit. And we can better understand activities that drive costs. We can better understand our overheads when we adopt digital costing. And it helps us adopt dynamic pricing. Whenever the cost changes accordingly, we can change our prices. Whenever our competitors keep on changing their prices, if we have digital costing, then we can keep changing our prices as well. Okay. So that's that for the second part. Then moving on to the third part, you are supposed to, so our finance manager has had a chat with the head of website sales, Tony Trills, and it was brought to my attention that he carries out data analytics in an informal manner based on data collected via our website. I personally believe that this is not too good, and data analysis should be carried out in a formal manner. So based on the data analytics from our website, suggest and justify 3 KPIs mentioning how each KPI can be calculated. So you need to address both these concerns. Simply, if you suggest and justify 3 KPIs, you won't get full marks. As per the requirement, you are supposed to highlight how to calculate each KPI as well. So the weightage provided is 30%. So based on that weightage, 11 marks are allocated. I've come up with a main heading which goes as key performance indicators, which is in bold and underlined format. So you are supposed to recommend, suggest, and justify 3 KPIs. So I've come up with three KPIs as well. So the first one is sales volume growth, how to calculate it, this month's sales versus last month's sales, justification provided. If growth rates are lesser than market, our market share is decreasing, and vice versa. So in the answer plan, I've kept it simple, but when typing your answer, you can further elaborate the points mentioned. Then the second KPI is conversion rate. How to calculate it? Number of conversions divided by number of website visitors into 100. Justification. The conversion rate indicates the level of customer interest for our website. If the rate is low, if the conversion rate is low, we should include more product information so that conversion rates would build in the future. And on top of that, conversion rate might be less because of our prices being uncompetitive. In such a context, if we reduce our prices, then we can bring up the conversion rates. Then the third KPI could be shopping cart abandonment rate. How to calculate it? Shoppers abandoning the cart divided by shoppers adding to the cart into 100. Justification. If the abandonment rate is too high, it usually suggests that there's too much friction in the checkout area. In order to get rid of this friction, we should provide more product details and improved or carry out improved marketing to convince customers further. All right, so it's extremely simple when it comes to developing answer plans. And once you have these answer plans, you can, provide your fully fledged answers. Any questions, guys? Any questions? So I took you through answering technique as well as time management technique. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so seems like there aren't any questions. So I'm going to move into the fourth part of tonight's session. Okay, so Manish is saying, before we move on to the last part, Manish is saying that developing the answer plan would take 45 minutes. Yeah, when you're doing it for the first time, you would feel like that. But as I told you earlier, you are supposed to do 5 mock exams, and under each mock exam, you would have 4 tasks. So 4 tasks into 5 mock exams is 20 tasks. So you would be developing 20 answer plans. So once you develop 20 answer plans before the exam, then you'd become a champion in developing answer plans. Then you won't take 45 minutes. So when you are doing it for the first time, you take a lot of time because you need to think a lot. You need to get the process right. So it's going to be a trial and error process. But once you have developed answer plans for mocks 1 and 2, life would become easier when you move forward. Okay, so there's absolutely nothing to be worried about because the results came out last week and our students had done really well. Most of the students had scored more than 100 marks. The pass mark is 80, but most of my students had scored more than 100 marks. Why? Because they stuck to the study plan which we provided. They attempted the mock exams. They developed their own answer plans and compared them with the answer plans which we have provided. So you need to keep on practicing this technique under exam conditions, time pressured exam conditions. So via our exam platform, you can attempt mock exams. Okay, all 5 mock exams can be attempted via the exam platform. And when you are doing it, if you are attempting mock number 1, you are supposed to attempt it within 3 hours. And when doing it, you are supposed to develop the answer plans, and based on that, type your fully fledged answers. So keep practicing the same process, and practice makes perfect. Okay, I hope I addressed your concern, Manish. All right. Okay, so bouncing back from failure. So let's assume you might have done the OCS exam last time, and if you failed it last time, what are you supposed to do to improve your chances of passing this time? You need to figure out whether you gave your best or not. So you need to conduct your own personal reflection, and you have to be honest. So it's better to write down these points when you are involved with the personal reflection. Then it would help you to understand what actually went wrong last time, and you need to avoid all these shortcomings when attempting the exam this time in February. So where did you go wrong in the exam? You need to diagnose the reasons first and address them this time. So as I told you earlier, take a piece of paper, write down according to your understanding, write down what went wrong last time. Okay. And uh, the reasons for all these shortcomings. And you are supposed to refer to the mini mock and suggested answers as well as examiner's reports. Then you'd, maybe understand what actually went wrong last time. So most students do not spend time when it comes to developing answer plans. Most students do not manage their time appropriately. So these might have been your shortcomings. So you need to improve on these areas this time. And you might not have gotten feedback on your mock exam answer scripts last time. And if you failed, then it's prudent for you to go for professional tutor feedback, because then you would know what your actual shortcomings are, rather than you trying to figure out what your what type of shortcomings you have. So if you failed the exam last time, it's actually prudent for you guys to go for tutor feedback this time. And you need to develop an action plan, and this action plan should be to work harder and smarter than the previous attempt. And in order to make your life easier, we have developed a 6-week study plan. So just by sticking to this 6-week study plan, you can make sure that you pass the exam comfortably in this sitting. All right. So what are the common reasons for failure? So I've been tutoring, CIMA case studies for the past 11 years. And, as per my experience, these are the common shortcomings faced by students. So let's look at what these things are. Practicing just 2 or 3 mocks. Yes. So the OCS exam is a highly technical exam. You need to have a lot of knowledge about theoretical content, especially when it comes to P1 and F1 related areas. And if you are to cover the entire syllabus through the mock exams, you can't do it when you practice 2 or 3 mocks. You need to practice 5 mock exams. So we at TCS, we have developed 5 mock exams, and when developing the 5 mock exams, we have made sure to cover all syllabus areas. So if you are to cover the entire OCS syllabus or the operational level syllabus, you can't do it, uh, within 2 or 3 mocks. So if you practice just 2 or 3 mocks last time, that is actually a reason for you to fail. Because if you just practice 2 or 3 mocks, you have not practiced answer planning technique appropriately. So instead, you are better off to if you attempt 5 mock exams, because then you develop more answer plans, you type more answers, and on top of that, you'd cover the entire syllabus when you attempt 5 mock exams. And another shortcoming is not practicing mocks under simulated exam conditions. So I've seen so many students doing this mistake. So you are supposed to do the exam at a stretch, allocating 3 hours of your time. But when attempting mock exams, what students would do is they would do task 1 today. Let's assume you guys are attempting mock number 1. So you'd attempt task 1 today, task 2 tomorrow, task 3 day after tomorrow, and likewise. So you are not supposed to do it, because you have to get yourself accustomed to real life exam conditions. You have to accustom yourself with exam pressure. You have to be conversant with sitting in one place for 3 hours and focusing on the exam, only on the exam. So that's exactly why you need to practice under simulated exam conditions. So in order to make your life easier, we have developed an exam platform which is akin to the Pearson VUE system. So when attempting mock exams, you can simply attempt them via our exam platform, so that you'd be practicing under real life exam conditions. And another problem could be lack of technical knowledge pertaining to E1, F1, and P1. Most students coming through the exemption route or the FLP route would face such a situation. So in order to overcome your gaps with regards to technical knowledge, what you can do is you can refer to the 12 videos which we are providing under the Value Plus package. Okay, so by watching these 12 videos, you'd learn theory as well as application. So at the OCS level, you need to have technical knowledge. Just because you have technical knowledge, you can't pass. You need to know how to apply this knowledge as well. So within these 12 videos I'm talking about, that's exactly what I've tried to achieve. So I'm teaching theory as well as application. So if you go through these 12 videos, you'd overcome the shortcomings with regards to technical knowledge and shortcomings in application of knowledge. For instance, suggesting KPIs. Most students do not do well when it comes to suggesting KPIs. Okay, so again, by watching the 12 videos which we have developed, you understand what type of or how to develop KPIs based on the requirements highlighted in the question. And on top of that, all types of KPIs which can appear in your exam appears within our 5 mocks. So if you go through the suggested answers of our 5 mocks as well as the answer plans which we have developed, then you would know the type of KPIs you need to suggest and how to suggest high quality KPIs. So shortcomings in application of knowledge, this again can be overcome by watching the 12 videos which we have provided under the Value Plus package. And inappropriate answering technique, as I highlighted earlier, most students right after reading the question, they start typing the answer. That's extremely inefficient. Okay, because halfway through you might realize that you are headed in the wrong direction. Then you'd have to delete the answer. Whilst typing the answer, you'd have to allocate some time to think. You can't multitask when under exam pressure. So it's better to do all the thinking within the first 15 minutes when developing your answer plan. So when developing the answer plan, you are supposed to think, spend some time to think. And once you have come up with a complete answer plan, then there's no thinking involved. It's just a matter of typing the answer, utilizing the remaining time. Okay, so stick to the answering technique which we have stipulated. Then you'd manage your time properly. You'd come up with high quality answers. You'd provide complete answers. Then your chances of passing the exam is extremely high. That's exactly what our past students had faced at the OCS exam. And another problem could be mismanagement of time. Again, if you stick to our answer planning technique, you will overcome this issue. And lack of evaluation. So the quality of your answers are not up to standard. That is basic, that is understandable, because you might be doing a CIMA case study for the first time. So how do you overcome this problem? You have to compare your answer with the suggested answer. So in order to make your life easier, we have developed answer plans for mocks 3, 4, and 5. So simply you are supposed to compare your answer to the answer plan which we have provided. So if you are not opting for tutor feedback, if you are evaluating your answers on your own, then that's what you're supposed to do. Compare your answer with the answer plan. Then you can overcome this issue. And not adhering to a study plan, that's a killer, because most students try to do everything under the sun within the last week before the exam. Then you can't get anything done. You would be exposed to a stressful situation rather than going through a lot of stress closer to the exam. Just stick to our study plan. Then you would see that you are not supposed to do too much. You are supposed to work on a week by week basis. Only week number 2 is going to be hectic, but in the other weeks it's just a matter of attempting the mock exams. And the week leading up to the exam, you are not supposed to do anything. Instead, you are supposed to relax, just refer to the answer plans and the study material which we have provided. Okay, so I hope by listening to these points, you are in a position to figure out what actually went wrong last time. And I hope that you do everything under your disposal to overcome these issues before attempting the paper this time. Okay, so Having said all these things, let me talk about what we offer at TCS. So this is the web page. This is our web page. I'm in the OCS page. Okay. And you can access the free content by clicking on this button. Okay. And on top of that, sample material before purchasing, I urge you guys to go through our sample material to see whether our material is of quality or not. So go through the sample material by clicking on this link. And if you feel that these webinars add value, then you can suggest them to your friends and they can simply click on this, and register for the webinar series. Okay. So looking at the different types of courses we offer 4 different courses. So the essential pack is the cheapest one, which is priced at £99. So you'd get access to all these material. Okay. If you purchase the essential pack, and this is relevant for students who are comfortable with 100% self-learning and those who had aced their OTQ exams. So if you got really good marks for your OTQ exams, then it appears that you have an appropriate level of knowledge about technical areas. And on top of that, if you are comfortable with 100% self-study, you need not invest on anything else. Simply go for the essential pack. And under this, you get the recorded versions of the webinars, 5 mock exams with suggested answers. These are exam standard. And full precin analysis videos, 4 videos in total, which covers the entire precin document. The annotated precin, which I showed you previously, industry analysis slides, financial analysis slides, top 10 likely issues, the case study familiarization kit, and access to the online discussion forum. Okay, all this you can purchase for £99. Then looking at the value pack, this is suitable for students who are looking for one-to-one tutor support and mentoring. Okay, so if you feel that you can't do your studies on your own, then I urge you to go for the value pack. So you'd get your hands on everything which I highlighted earlier under the value pack. On top of all these things, you'd gain access to the online mock exam platform. So when attempting your 5 mock exams, I said that it's of utmost importance that you do it under real life exam conditions. So if you are to attempt your mocks under real life exam conditions, the best way to do it is via the exam platform, because this exam platform is designed to be akin to the Pearson VUE system you'd see at the real exam. So before the real exam itself, you'd be attempting your mocks under exam conditions. That's gonna be extremely beneficial for you at the real exam. And on top of that, we are providing professional marking and one-to-one tutor feedback on 3 mocks, mocks 3, 4, and 5. So mocks 1 and 2 are there to get your bearings about with regards to the OCS exam, but things get serious from mocks 3 onwards, mock 3 onwards rather. So for mocks 3, 4, and 5, I myself will be providing professional tutor support. So this is the type of feedback you would get. As you can see, we are providing feedback on a paragraph by paragraph basis. So that's comprehensive feedback. All the shortcomings are highlighted. And on top of that, at the very end of the feedback, we will be providing mark allocations as well. So based on the mark breakdowns for each and every subtask, you would know how many marks you gain. So you are in a position to really figure out what your exact shortcomings are and take everything under your power to overcome these issues. Okay. And on top of that, if you go for the value pack, you'd get your hands on the theory recaps of OTQ syllabus content for E1, P1, and F1. And this is the type of theory recaps you'd get your hands on. Okay. So I've kept it simple and concise so that it's relevant to the pre-scene. Okay. These theory recaps are not relevant to the OTQ exams because you need to have a lot of knowledge in these areas, but I've kept it simple so that only relevant information is provided, or relevant information or information which is relevant for the OCS exam are provided under the theory recaps. Then we have the plus packages, the essential plus and the value plus package. So if you go for the essential plus, you'd get your hands on all these material which I mentioned under the essential package, plus 6+ hours of video lectures where I'm explaining mocks 3, 4, and 5. There are 12 video lectures in total. I call them master classes. So in these master classes, I'm covering theory. So if you lack theoretical knowledge, the best way to learn is through these 12 videos. Why am I saying it? Because I'm not just teaching theory, I'm teaching application as well. So I'm just like I explained the answer for the mini mock, the second part of mini mock at today's webinar. I'll be taking you through the papers or the answers of mocks 3, 4, and 5, where technical knowledge will be provided, and on top of that, application is covered. So this is these videos will be a guidance on decrypting mocks and suggested answers. So if you're comfortable with self-learning, and if you feel that you need to improve your answers, you can go for the Essential Plus package. And the Value Plus package is the total solution which you can get your hands on. This is recommended to students who are coming through the exemption route, such as the FLP route, because most students coming through FLP lack theoretical knowledge. Most students coming through FLP lack an understanding about how to apply the knowledge in case study at the case study examination. So by watching these 12 videos, you can overcome these problems. You can learn theory as well as improve your application. And on top of that, you would get your hands on everything which I mentioned under the value pack. And that is priced at £275. If you're not part of the WhatsApp discussion forum, by clicking on this button, you can easily join it as well. And I urge you to check out our blog posts where all technical nitty-gritties pertaining to your case study examination are provided. So you can further understand how this system works and how you can improve your chances of passing the exam. All right. Okay. So that's that. Any questions, guys? Any questions? I think can the mocks be redone multiple times? Manish, we don't usually offer this because there's absolutely no point of redoing the same mock over and over again on the exam platform. So what we would suggest you to do is sit in one place, allocate 3 hours, and do the mock once. And once you are done with it, if you're not too satisfied with your answer, just practice on developing answer plans, because the most important thing is to develop answer plans. Most students get this wrong, because once you have an answer plan, you can simply type it. It's a matter of just expanding the answer plan. So don't waste your time on sitting in one place and doing the same mock over and over again. Then you'd be wasting 3 hours each time you do a mock. Instead, focus on attempting 5 mocks on the exam platform. And after you are done with attempting mocks, focus on your answer planning technique. Develop answer plans. That's the best way to cover theory. That's the best way to improve the quality of your answer. That's the best way to compare your answer to the suggested answer and learn through the process. In the study plan, attempt mocks first, then develop answer plan. Shouldn't this be the other way around? Not exactly, because I want you to, before you develop answer plans, I want you to attempt the mock exam fresh, because then you'd know where you stand. If you go through the answer plan, if you spend some time to develop answer plans and then attempt the mock, you'd be cheating yourself, because it's as if you know the type of questions which would appear in the exam. So at the real exam, you won't face such a situation. So in order to understand where you stand in an honest environment, what you need to do is attempt the mock first, then develop answer plans. Then you'd know, then you'd remember the type of answers you provided, and then you are in a position to understand the quality of answers required. That's the best way to learn. Don't go through the suggested answer before attempting the mock exam. That's just, you are trying to please yourself. That is not going to happen at the real exam. Manish, okay, I'll get back to you on this about the discount. Okay, so we are offering a 10% discount. The discount actually starts from today. So that's exactly why, Manish, you have not gotten the discount, but I'll get in touch with you about it. So this is an early bird discount, and the discount code is OCS 10. And when you are purchasing at the checkout area, you can mention the discount code, and remember, this expires on the 15th of January 2023. Right. Any questions, guys? Okay, since there aren't any more questions, I'm going to end the session. So you can contact us via our website or email us or simply WhatsApp us. Okay. And I urge you to follow us on our social media handles as well, especially go through the blog posts. Then you can get your bearings about the case study examinations, especially if you're doing it for the first time. And yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for joining in. So our final webinar is happening the week after. That's Saturday after next. So I hope you guys would join that as well. If you missed out on the first webinar, please check out our website. The recorded version is uploaded under the free content tab. Okay. Having said that, it brings us to the end of tonight's session. Thank you very much for joining in. I'll see you guys the week after next. Good night.